When it comes to what your family eats and drinks, you know your choices matter. You're the expert because you know what fits your life. And getting it right starts with good information. That's why America's beverage companies are sharing more information about our ingredients at goodtoknowfacts.org. No spin, no judgments, just the facts straight from the experts for more than 140 beverage ingredients. Visit goodtoknowfacts.org.
This episode is brought to you by Marshalls, where you never have to compromise between quality and price. The buyers at Marshalls hustle hard, working to bring you great deals on brand name and designer pieces. Because Marshalls believes everyone deserves access to the good stuff. Visit a Marshalls store near you or shop online at marshalls.com.
The Last Show with David Cooper, where bad therapy meets good radio.
Why are women still doing more housework than men? There's a chore gap, even when women earn more. Well, my next guest has an interesting academic paper titled Winning the Bread and Baking It Too, and also a book called Having It All, What Data Tells Us About Women's Lives and Getting the Most Out of Yours. That's available wherever books are sold. Her name is Dr. Corinne Lowe. She's an economics professor at the Wharton School. We're going to talk about work inequality between men and women. Corinne, welcome to the show.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me.
Your academic paper study has such a striking title, Winning the Bread and Baking It Too. Can you start out by explaining what that means and with your research, what you sought to uncover?
Yes. So, I wanted that title because I think it really captures this phenomenon of women being like two-way players, like playing offense and defense, where, we have had these changes in the economy where women now play the same role in the market as men. We can have the same jobs that men can, in many cases can earn as much money. So you might think that then that old model of one person earns money in the market, one person, takes care of the house. Well, maybe it's going to start to reverse in some couples when the woman earns more. But that's not what I found. What I found is that while women's roles in the economy have changed, men's roles haven't. So men are on average still doing about the same amount of housework, the same amount of cooking and cleaning as they were in the 1970s. And specifically, when you're in a household where the woman earns more money than the man, when she's the primary breadwinner, she still does twice as much cooking and cleaning as her lower earning male partner.
Well, I'm oddly comforted because I'm the one who cooks in our household, but let's not talk about me. What does this say about the state of marriage, the state of, gender relations, the state of how people are actually running their chores at home as it compares to, economic trends in the workplace?
Yeah, I think it shows that we have this kind of half-complete gender revolution where, like I said, gender roles have changed for women, but they haven't changed for men. And I think that leaves us in a precarious position when it comes to marriage, because for a woman who is earning a lot and is likely to out-earn her male partner when she's kind of looking at the marriage market, marriage holds less benefit than it used to, because if she says, all right, I don't need the other person's paycheck, and I know that now I'm going to have to do, the majority of the housework, and in fact, more chores, because what we see is when women get married, they do more cooking and cleaning because they're actually kind of taking on some of that work for their male partners. And when they get divorced, they do less. So I'm going to have more work to do around the house, and I don't actually need his money. That makes marriage kind of seem like a bad deal. And in fact, in this paper, we link this household gap, this gap in housework, to declining marriage rates, and show that when that inequality is bigger, that's when women are kind of disinclined to get married, when they're going to earn more, but also have to do the work at home. And then I also link it back to the gender wage gap, because if you think about it, think about a woman with a really high-powered career. And I've just told you that the data says that even if her male partner earns less, she's still doing the majority of the cooking and cleaning, right? So now if we go instead to the workplace, how can she be an equal in the workplace to her male colleague where if her male colleague is the breadwinner at home, he has a female partner who is doing so much more of the housework, and therefore he has more hours in his day. And that's what the data shows. The data shows that even when a woman is earning more than twice her male partner, he still works more hours than she does. She still works fewer hours. So she literally gets fewer hours to invest in her career. And to me, that is a smoking gun for why we are having trouble closing the gender wage gap.
If the first, I don't know, gender revolution, I'm sure it wasn't the first, was women really entering the workforce, taking roles in the workforce where they earn more than men, what should happen next? Because it sounds like there's still a problem.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think we've got to finish that gender revolution. I think now that women's roles have changed so much, we need to start seeing changes in men's roles. We need to see men view taking care of the household, taking care of the kids as part of, masculinity, as part of, how they can be a provider in the household. That, the same way, if you go back to the 1960s, you had women who viewed their role as enabling their husbands to have a career because that was going to be good for the economic well-being of the whole household. Well, if a woman is earning twice as much as her husband, then him taking on those household tasks so that she can earn more is good for the whole household's finances. And that's what I see in my data, which was so maddening, is that there were couples where she's literally earning 2 to 4 times as much as what he is, and in an hourly position where she could earn more money, something like being a nurse, and he's earning so much less, but he's working more hours. And if he would pick the kids up from daycare so she could pick up a shift as a nurse, the whole household would get richer, right? So we need men to view their wives' careers as kind of part of their ambitions. And I think that's going to take a lot of change, from what we teach in schools to policies, but even in individual households. One of my messages to women is that I think in some ways, we are still stuck in the 1970s in our mindset because we want to be able to do it all. We think everything should be able to be done perfectly. We're comparing ourselves to our male colleagues at work and an Instagrammable trad wife at home, thinking that if we don't bake the homemade cookies or make the homemade baby food, or if we don't have the curtains hung up just right, or if we don't have the herb garden, that we are somehow a failure. And the reality is that's just not compatible with having a full-time job outside of the household. So one of the ways we start to change these gender roles is by doing less, by just saying, nope, I don't need to do that. I'm going to let that go. Because if we let ourselves become an empty shell because we are doing so much at home and at work that we have no time to take care of our own needs, then we're just modeling for our sons that that's what they can expect from their wives.
It sounds like the common everyday experience of women, like all these pressures, unable to do everything, and yet it's coming at you from every angle. How are we going to convince men to pick up the work, though? If women just stop doing the work at home, I feel like the men's will just sit on the couch and play the video games, and the home will go to...
Well, I think that we should have a more positive view of men, because you just said you do the cooking at home, right?
I do, and I take out the kitty litter, and I mean, we're pretty good. We're pretty happy, but we don't have any kids. I feel like if we did have kids, I wouldn't do a great job. Maybe that's part of the reason we don't have kids.
Yeah, well, that's one thing that happens, right, is that mom becomes the default parent so often that when you do have kids, it's like, if you think you kind of had some kind of fragile balance, it can often get thrown off. But what I see when I talk about my data to men, almost every man that I've ever presented my data to says oh no, but I'm the exception. I think I do about half at home. And
I'm sure every man does, and I just did, and I'm guilty,
Yeah.
and I have no defense to it. But I do have a question for you.
Yeah.
If every man thinks they're the exception, but there must be some exceptions, right?
there are some exceptions, right? But those exceptions are literally the data tells me the exceptions are 12% of men do more housework than their wives.
Oh, I don't do more. I just do some.
Yeah, you have to be that 12%. So, but I would take the positive spin on it, which is the fact that they all tell me that they do half. It tells me that they want to do half, right? And so that means that there's hope because they want to be equal contributors. But I think they are doing half of what they see, and that's like the tip of the iceberg. And then there's this iceberg of invisible labor that they don't even see of what it actually takes to run a household.
I'm thinking of the husband who says, just tell me what to do and I'll do it, as if they can't figure out what to do in the house for themselves.
Yes. And that is my message, and what I think is a positive and hopeful message for men and women, which is that, listen, we do not need a low-level junior employee to delegate tasks to, okay, at home. We need a co-CEO of the household. And so guys out there, you're getting a promotion, and it's not about waiting for your wife to tell you to do something. It's about taking real ownership of the work of running a household. And so to kind of get rid of that invisible labor problem, one of the things I talk about is don't tell him to pack the school lunch boxes. Have him own, he's meal planning, he's grocery shopping, he's packing the lunch boxes, he's cleaning them out. And then he's going to find out that if he sends wheat thins instead of Triscuits, they're going to come back uneaten every time. And he's going to have to step up his game.
Economics professor Dr. Corinne Lowe works at the Wharton School. Check out her book, Having It All, What Data Tells Us About Women's Lives and Getting the Most Out of Yours. That's available wherever books are sold. Corinne, I've really enjoyed the chat. Thanks for sharing your research with me.
Thanks so much, David.
Doug. Here we have the Limu Emu in its natural habitat, helping people customize their car insurance and save hundreds with Liberty Mutual. Fascinating. It's accompanied by his natural ally, Doug.
Limu? Is that guy with the binoculars watching us?
Cut the camera. They see us.
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
Savings vary. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.